to you live from our backyard. This is my most favorite place to be. Okay, well, besides the beach, because I absolutely love being there. As you know, if you follow me on my blog or my Facebook page. But I wanted to be out here today in one of my very favorite places so that you could hear the sounds of nature that I get to enjoy. Whether it's in the morning or it's in the middle of the day or it's in the evening, there are always birds chirping, and we have blue herons coming out, and there are turtles basking in the sun on the hill over here. So I really want to be out here and to tell you this story, because this is where it all took place, or is taking place. And the sun, I've been all over the yard trying to find the best spot to do this. And as soon as I get there and I get set up, then the sun moves and it's glaring on my face. So I will be shifting about trying to avoid that. So hopefully you can see me and you can hear me really good out here. Cooper, you will hear him barking because he is quite upset that Mommy is outside in the yard and he is not. So he is at the door, yes, barking nonstop. And probably will continue to do so since he can see me from the window. So that is just part of our nature noises that we're going to hear out here. But anyway, if you listen really closely, you'll hear a lot of birds chirping. But the most important one that I want you to hear is this one. To listen. That's a redbird, and that's who we're talking about today. If you follow me on my blog, my Facebook page, or you know me personally, then you know that in November the 18th, my sweet, sweet granny passed away. And she had suffered with Alzheimer's for several years. Okay, sorry, I have to check because we have snakes out here. And I do just need to be conscious because I'm kind of sitting in the flower bed. But anyway, Granny was she is such a part of my heart and soul. And we were so close, and we still are. Even though she passed away on November 18th, of course, I have pictures of her all over our house, and I just have the sweetest memories of her. And just our times together. And if you know that I had a tea room before, she and my mom worked with me, and we created all the recipes, and we decorated the tea room, and they helped me serve, and we just had these most delightful and beautiful tea times, and they were a part of that with me. And Granny was right there with us every day as a part of that, and she was part of the heart of the tea room. And but she and I had always been very, very close. I would go and spend the night with her at her house, and just it's so funny because sometimes now I can just hear her. If I were to say certain things, I think she would probably say, "Oh, kitten." She'd call me kitten, or she'd call me baby doll, a lot of other cute names. But just, I can't even say how thankful I am for the relationship that we had. And goodness, what a blessing that I have so many amazing memories of our times together. Just from growing up, I can remember as a teenager, I loved going to her house and just sitting there on the sofa, and she'd be sitting in her favorite chair, and it was at the window, and we'd watch the birds coming, and she had bird feeders out, and I would just tell her all about my day and what was going on, and who I had a date with, and what was wrong with him, and I wouldn't go out with him again, and who I was had a date coming up with, or some fun I was doing with my friends, or I shared everything with her. And a lot of times I can remember my mom and I laugh about this, because maybe my mom was making dinner and Granny was going to eat with us, but I'd gone down to visit with her, and my mom would end up calling, "Okay, well, dinner's ready, y'all, come on." And then like 30 minutes later, 45 minutes later, she might call again, "Okay, dinner's ready, are you all coming?" "Oh, okay, we're coming, we were talking, Granny was showing me this, or we were doing such and such." So we just had this really close, beautiful friendship and relationship, and just amazing blessing. And it still blesses me absolutely every day, because I can hear her. I can, when you're that close with somebody, like you can, then I think as you suffer that loss and you grieve them not being with you, they live so in your heart. So you can really, it's as though she's still a part of my days, and so much a part of who I am and what I'm doing and that kind of thing. So but anyway, she passed away on the 18th of November, and John and I had been of course at my family's home, and had been there with Granny I got to be with her about an entire week before she passed away. So I'm very thankful for that time that I got to spend with her. But we came back on the morning of the 19th because we needed to get some things, and we of course were going back and making funeral preparations and things like that. So as we arrived at our house, I was out in our backyard at one point that morning when we got back home, and I was letting Cooper walk around and let him out a little bit. And I just remember hearing this noise, and it was just sounded like something bumping something. And I kept looking around the yard and I couldn't see anything. And then I finally determined where the noise was coming from, and we have this wrought iron table, real pretty scroll work on it, has a glass top to it. And there was a female redbird sitting on one of the scroll legs on the bottom, and she just continued to jump up and bump her head on the glass. And I thought, wow, that is the strangest thing. I mean, we spend a lot of time in our backyard. We love it, the pond and all. But I just remember thinking to myself, we've had a lot of birds out here, but I've not ever seen a bird do this. And of course, redbirds always get your attention. They're so pretty, the males and the females. And I looked over and I saw her doing that, and she continuously did that. So I was just so intrigued by this. And then the next day, I watched her for quite some time, and I think that day I actually tried to go in and get my camera, and I got some pictures of her. So the next day, of course, we went home back to my family's, and we were doing funeral preparations and then had the funeral and all that. When we came back to our house that weekend, outside again, and I hear this same noise, and I turn to look at the table, and there she is. Now let me back up for a second. On the 19th, when we were back, I just immediately, after I saw discovered where this noise was coming from, and I saw that it was a redbird, a female one, immediately I just remember thinking, that's Granny. That's a sign from Granny that she is with me, and that she loves me, and she is always going to be by my side. And I just thought, what a blessing for me to see this redbird. Because let me also tell you that one of Granny, I think her favorite bird, it wasn't that, she had a few different ones that she wrote, but you always heard her talking about the redbirds, the cardinals, how much she loved seeing them and how pretty she thought they were. And so a lot of times she had mugs that had cardinals on them, and I just remember the redbird being significant when I think about birds that she loved. And I had actually gotten a cute little ornament for her on a trip to Alexandria, or on one of our trips when we'd been somewhere. And I had taken it to her about a week before she passed away. And it had a little redbird at the top, and then it had a little cute little yarn string, and there was a little heart at the bottom of it that hung from it. And we hung that in her room on her little dresser. And when I saw that redbird that morning on the 19th, it was the most amazing thing to me, and I just felt her presence so close to me. And then I really started doing some research, because once we got home, back from the funeral, being with family and everything that weekend, she kept coming, and she kept going to the same location, the table with the glass top, and she always was doing the same thing. She was jumping up and making the noise when she kind of bumped her head on the top, and we kind of giggle about it, like, why does she keep doing this? But to me, it was just a very distinct thing, because I just felt like she wanted to get our attention. And John witnessed all this too, so not just me. She wanted to get our attention. And what better way than to make this odd noise, and then to see something like that. And like I said, we've always had birds in our yard, and I've enjoyed watching them at the feeders and that kind of thing. But to see a bird do this type of movement, and to continue to do it, and to do this on a daily basis, every single day, just really significant to me. And to me, it just felt like such a message. So I began to read more, about the cardinals, and there are a lot of there's an Indian story about them. There's the symbolism, of course, in Christianity, and the number that is symbolic for the cardinal is the number 12. And my granny's birthday was the 12th month. And what I like even more is that her birthday was on the 3rd of December. So the 12th month, cardinals, their symbolic number is 12, and her birthday's on the 3rd. And this might sound crazy, but 12, if you add 1 and 2 together, you get 3. So I don't know, I kind of like that too. So I just have all these little things that are just very symbolic to me about this. And her favorite bird was the cardinal. And this is a female that had been coming. And I have this documented in my calendar on different days, and all these little notes and things about this, just so I could look back and be like, yes, actually this happened. I didn't just think this or imagine it or whatever. And John has been the witness of this on many occasions. But this cardinal, this beautiful redbird, has come to our home, has allowed me to see her every single day since November the 19th, the day after my granny passed away. Every single day. We've traveled off and on at different times, and every time after we've been out of town and we get back home, the day that we arrive home, we see her again. And I don't mean that she's just flying about the yard. I mean she was either back at the table and doing the head thing, bumping up against the glass top, and she would sit on, the scrolled legs, or she started coming to the windows. And at first I heard it. We'd just gotten back from somewhere one day, and I heard this noise coming. I was trying to figure out where it was, and I kind of kept tracing oh, that was the bug. I kind of kept tracing, where the noise was coming from, and sure enough, it's over at one of the windows in our den area. And I look, and there she is at the window, and she is pecking her beak on the window. Just seriously, just looked like she's just knocking on the window. And then she would be fluttering her wings in midair and knocking with her beak on the window, like, hey, I'm here, do you see me? And it was so amazing to me. It was just incredible. And I just remember as John and I began to see this so often, he'd just look at me and smile. And so not long after I called her Granny Birdie. And that name has stuck, of course. And so Granny Birdie has come to our home and let us see her, let us know that she is there. She's made herself very visible to us every single day since November the 19th. Still to today. Like, she's still doing this. She has not missed a day. Even if we've been traveling, there she is. She shows up again when we get back as though to welcome us home. And it has absolutely been the most amazing thing to witness. I have shared, the story with people, just if somebody was coming to do some work at our house. I think that's a lizard and not a snake. Or if I meet somebody somewhere and somehow we start talking about things, I've shared this story, and just to see the amazement on people's faces. And so many times I've had someone say, wow, what a beautiful sign you are getting to witness. Wow, that's a God thing. That's a God sign. Wow, that is your granny letting you know that she is with you always. And so I love that I've been able to witness this. I love that John's been able to witness this, that my family has witnessed it through me because I've shared it with them. And then strangers that I've spoken with, they've been able to witness the joy of this and the blessing and these beautiful signs. And just to see and hear the faith and the belief in people's voices and in their conversation when I've told them about it has been amazing to me. And initially I was like, well, I wonder why is she coming to me? And I just immediately right away, I thought, because she knows I'll share this. She knows I will share this story because I'm a photographer and I have a blog, and she knows that I will snap pictures and I will share those photos and I will tell this story about her coming. And so I know here we are in May, and it has been a long time coming for me to tell this. I think because it has been such a special thing for me to be able to witness this and for her to be visiting us, that I really just wanted to soak it in and not think about how am I going to tell the story or what parts to share, don't forget this or that or whatever. But I just needed time to really soak it in, and also I guess the validity of it, of just that she comes every day, that I can share that with you. I can tell you, I have it written on my calendar. And getting back to when she was coming to the windows, initially she started at like some of the den windows, 2 of them, and then she would be on the patio. And it was when she started doing that then we saw the male redbird. So he was with her. And of course he took on the name Grand Dudley Birdie because my Granny's husband, my grandfather, his name was Dudley, and we all called him Grand Dudley. And I was only a year old when he passed away, but my mom tells me that, and Granny used to, that he loved coming up. They lived below my parents, and he loved coming up and coming to see me, and he would take me for rides in his truck and out to check on his cattle and things, and that Granny would miss him, and she would call and ask my mom where he was. She's like, I knew he was up there loving on Ann-Margaret. So that, I love hearing about those times that he would spend with me, and oh goodness, I so wish I could have really known him. That would just, I think, have been incredible because of all the stories and wonderful things I've heard about him. But so when the male birds started coming, of course, I said, this is Grand Dudley Birdie. So it's just so funny that there would be times when I would be in another room in the house and John would say, hey, Grand Dudley Birdie's out here. Granny Birdie's out here. They're both out here. And I did make sure that he knew, though, and straight up initially, that I did not actually think that Granny was the bird. That it's just that she sent the bird, or this is her presence, or however you want to look at it. But I think it is a symbol of her and her love and her presence in my life and continuing to be with me. So but she continues to come every day, and he does. And as they come to the windows, like we had been back from an appointment one day, only been back in the house about 5 minutes, so I just love it how the symbolism of goodness, I could have, I would have missed her, or we'd only been home 5 minutes, and then she came to the window. But in my studio, it has windows all around it, she would come and she would knock with her beak on the window at the end of the studio. And when I heard that one day, I thought, where is that noise coming from? And I followed the noise, and I pulled back this little curtain on shelves that I have there, and there she was, just fluttering her wings in midair, and right at the window, and she would kind of hold herself in midair, like, do you see me? I'm here, do you see me? And then she's knocking on the window with her beak, and then he would be, Grand Dudley Birdie, would be in the bushes, like he's hanging out with her, and then he's fluttering in midair, and then he's knocking on the window. And they have done this. I mean, honestly, I would wear myself out sometimes trying to go and grab my camera, because I would hear them knocking at the windows, and I want to, capture pictures of them. I have some of the most beautiful photos to share with you. What you've seen so far on Facebook is just the tip of the iceberg. Oh, I have gotten some really beautiful photos of them, and I'm going to do some special things with those, and I'm going to be sharing those with you. But they continue to come to the windows, knocking on them. A lot of times they'll hang out on the patio. They'll sit right at the grill, or either on one of the chairs, and they come to. And now the funny thing is, she will come to one window, and he comes to the other window. They're kind of right around the corner from each other on the den. And she's knocking, and then he's knocking, and I'm trying to get both of them. And then Cooper, he sees them now, and he likes to go over and try to bark at the window and, chat with them as well. But they continue to do that. They continue to come to the studio windows. And then just the other week, I kind of realized, I was like, I'm not seeing her as often throughout the day, because sometimes they will come numerous times during the day. This is not just knocking on the window like once. They might come in the morning, the afternoon, late in the afternoon, middle of the day. They come many times during the day. So I just not been seeing her as much, and I said, I wonder if she is nesting, or working on her nest for laying eggs. So then one day I was out with Cooper at the front of the house, and he was kind of sniffing at something. I thought, oh, is he trying to eat something on the ground? So I reached down and looked, and there was a half of an egg, and it was just the shell, half of the shell. And so I came in and looked. It was the prettiest little shell. It was white with like little brown polka dots on it. And I looked it up, and sure enough, that's the egg for the cardinal, for the redbird. And I was like, oh my goodness, they're going to have babies. Or they're already having babies. So, it was just all these little moments, so significant, that if Cooper had not been sniffing right there in the ground and I was checking on that, I would have missed that little egg. It was just half of a shell. And yes, of course, I kept it. So I knew then to be watching out for babies and that kind of thing. And I also have gotten beautiful photos of the male feeding, of Grand Dudley Birdie feeding Granny Birdie, just right beak to beak, just beautiful. I even got them one day kissing on the patio. So precious. Yep, I got a picture of that. So I just think I've been really blessed and fortunate to be able to capture these moments. Birds move fast, and you got to really, be on your toes sometimes to catch them. But I've had the opportunity to catch them in some of these really significant symbolic moments for me. So, and to be able to share with you just precious moments when you think about it, just the beauty of these birds. And so now the eggs have hatched and they have babies, and I was just out here last weekend, and I was out with Cooper and he's sniffing around, checking out the yard and things, and I hear all this chirping going on, and I thought, oh my goodness, I know that's those redbird babies. And I see that they're just all flying down into the yard and just swooping back up. Oh, they were going so fast, it was like they were dancing with each other. And there were about 3 to 4, so I'm not positive, but I think maybe 3 to 4. And just dancing about, and I was going to get my camera and put Cooper up, and then I, tried to capture some pictures of them, and I got one of them, and it was like there was one. There seems like there's always one, because this happened when we lived in Huntsville and we had doves that made a nest. There was one little birdie that was the last one to leave the nest, and he seemed kind of unsure. And so this one has perched up in one of the trees and just sat there, and I've gotten the most precious photos of this baby bird, and we call them grand birdie babies. Birdie babies. So I have gotten such sweet pictures, and he even went back to that same spot in the tree, and I think their nest was close to it the next day, and so I got great photos. I even captured the daddy, Grand Dudley Birdie, feeding the baby bird. Yes, beak to beak, dropping the food down in his mouth. I actually got a video that I'm going to share with you. So just how incredible is this, that I have gotten to capture this kind of footage of this sweet little bird family, and just the beauty of just, what this story means to me, and that I have been able to capture them feeding each other and just being a family, and these sweet moments. I mean, I love birds. I officially declared myself as a bird nerd, and I'm happy to wear that title, because I'm so intrigued by them. We were blessed one year, a couple of years ago, to see a painted bunting in our yard, and as I've looked them up, they usually don't even come to this part of Florida. They're usually, I think, farther south. So he perched on our, you may remember the photo that I showed a few years back, beautiful, all these bright, vibrant colors, and he perched on our patio on, just like he was doing a modeling session for me, and just stayed there for the longest time for me to get all these beautiful shots of him. So I just, love these little moments, and I'm just so intrigued by the fact that she came the very day it started, right after Granny passed away, and she has been coming ever since. And actually 2 days ago I was out in the yard, and a lady walked by, and I'm like in the bushes and with my camera, and I was, oh hi, I'm chasing baby birds, and the lady was telling me how much she loves seeing the cardinals in her yard, and has seen just a couple of them. She said, I don't see them very often, but I've seen just them a couple of times. And so I told her about the story, and you could just tell she was so touched to hear about this beautiful story. And anytime I've talked to people, they see them every now and then, or maybe they've come a few times or a couple of times. But I just think this is such a story that it was meant for me to share with people, because she has come every day. And then when Grand Dudley Birdie started coming with her, they come together every day. And I'm going to read you something in a second about the cardinal, but I just love how they seem so nurturing to each other. And the male is very helpful and loving, and with the female, and then with the babies, and you just see they're red, and so when we always think of love, we think of the color red, and I just think it's just such a story of love. And I've talked with a lot of people who've also read the stories, like the Indian stories, and some of the symbolic messages in Christianity of the redbird, and how they have had loved ones. And you've probably maybe seen some things on Facebook about when the redbirds show up, and that's a loved one that is, it's letting you know that that loved one's thinking of you, or you're in their heart, or, they'll always be with you. Their presence will always be with you, or you always carry a part of them in your heart, and that they're, with you as you go through life. And I think there's so many things that I could share with you about the symbolism of this. I really think it's an opportunity for us, yes, to stop and think about being loving towards others, and being compassionate, and showing our love in nurturing beautiful ways, and just one of the biggest things, the symbolic messages to me, is hope and faith and believing. Just believing. As I told somebody today, I said, I'm a God girl. I tell you, I got a lot of faith. And in the past, few years, especially in the time that we've lived here, I have just had some beautiful moments that I have been able to witness, and there have been difficult times and stressful times, and at one point we almost lost my mom when she went through an awful situation with sepsis, and we really almost lost her. And then losing my granny, and we lost Tucker, and there have just been other things. Life deals us difficulties, and that's part of living. But through those things, and through so many things that I have experienced, difficult times, uncertain times, stressful situations, when I didn't think I had any strength, to get through whatever it was, I have prayed and I have believed that I know God will give me the grace and the strength that I need. And with Him, I can walk through this. He will be beside me. I always like to kind of picture this image of Him walking on the beach with me, and He's holding my hand, and we're walking along, and if I feel nervous about something or anxious or fearful, just to have that image in my mind. Okay, that sounded like a snake. We've seen a lot out here, so that's why I have to be on alert. But just to have that image of Him walking with me, and reminding myself that He is with me and I'm not alone. And no matter where I am, if it's out here and under the trees or on the beach or in foreign countries or wherever it is I've been, that He's always with me. He's always with us. And that promise of that, and just there's so many things that have happened in my life where I feel truly blessed that I have actually witnessed Him creating something beautiful out of the broken. That He used brokenness to create something beautiful. And whether it's bringing people together or helping us through situations or helping us to find a strength that we need to survive something, helping us with our confidence, helping us to believe in ourselves, to believe in others. There are just all these things out there that I really think if we just take the time to slow down and to just look around us, there are all of these messages. If we're just willing to listen, and if we're willing to slow down and open our eyes, if we're willing to hope that the messages will appear, that we'll see them, that we'll hear them, they are there. And I think beautiful things like these Redbirds, Granny Birdie and Granddudley Birdie visiting, I think that's just a reminder that having faith and believing, it just opens up this beautiful world of, even when times are difficult or tough, or you're sad about something, or we're missing somebody, that there's going to be something that's going to be beautiful that will come out of this. God does not waste pain. And even though my heart hurts tremendously, and oh my goodness, the number of times that I just think about Granny, and I just wish I could call her up on the phone and talk to her, or tell her about something, or go visit her. Yeah, because I miss her so much. But in all of that, even with that sadness of missing her, here's this beautiful thing that makes me think about her so much. And so every time I see a Redbird, I'm always buying something now. And my sister gave me things with Redbirds on it, at Christmas. John's mother didn't even know about the story at that particular time, because it had kind of just, been happening. And in early December, she sent some of our Christmas things, and one of them was in a beautiful tin that had Redbirds on the front of it. And when I opened that, I was just like, oh my goodness. And I had not had a chance to really tell her about the story yet, about the Redbird. And then there's this tin with these beautiful Redbirds on it. And so little things like that I've, that have come about or been given to me, just beautiful little mementos and sentiments for me to hold close in my heart. And And every time I see the Redbirds, of course, I think about Granny. And I think about all the beautiful times we shared. And yeah, sometimes I get sad and I miss her even more. But I just think she has to be in heaven giggling and thinking this is the most amazing thing. To be seeing just how much joy I'm getting from these birds visiting us every day. And then also the joy that I'm getting to share by telling you the story. So keep your faith and slow down long enough to listen and to look around you and to see God's gifts, because I can assure you I've been amazed at how I have seen Him work in my life and the gifts that I have seen when I just would take time, or even if I was busy, sometimes He's really persistent, and even if you haven't slowed down to really take time to enjoy the beautiful gifts that He's given us, you can just sometimes all of a sudden something will happen later on, you realize you're like, wow, I think that was a God thing. And I love that. I love seeing that in my life, and I hope you get to experience and witness those things in your life too. And if nothing else, I hope this makes you slow down and take time to notice the birds. You might want to become a bird nerd like I am. And if you are a bird nerd, it is probably, I did not go seeking this, but I just happened to be in Barnes & Noble one day, and they had this book on sale. I said, oh my goodness, I so have to have this. It is a book of North American birds, because I am all the time taking photos of them and just so excited about, oh, that was a different one, what is that one? And I am very fortunate to see a lot of these beautiful woodpeckers. And we've got a new little birdie that has been coming out that I'm going to share pictures with you later that's so adorable. It looks like something you would find in the store. Anyway, but this was a little thing I wanted to read to you. It said, cardinals not only mate for life, they remain together the whole year, generally in unruffled tranquility. Long before winter is over, they are both singing, and sometimes solo, but more often counter-singing, one bird trilling several phrases, which the other completes. And they have the most beautiful songs. It is not just one song. I have some videos that I will be sharing, from here on out, now that I've, shared my birdie story with you. Beautiful songs that I have been able to capture on video. And they have, I don't know how many they have, but they have different little melodies that they sing that I just love. It says, as spring returns, the male resumes his courtship, feeding, bringing his companion tidbits of food. Like I was telling you about, I actually got the photo of that. Their bills touching briefly as she accepts each offered morsel. And I was able to capture that on camera. I got a photo of that, just the cutest, sweetest thing. The female builds the nest alone while the male is close beside her, exuberant in song. The female also incubates the eggs alone, but the male feeds her on the nest, and together they work to exhaustion, feeding their first nestlings of each season. And then she has more babies, and they resume the counter-singing and courtship feeding that so beautifully express the harmony of their life. And it really is. They do. They live in such harmony. I just think it's so precious that he feeds her, brings her food, and he sings while she's working on the nest and preparing things for their family. And it's just the sweetest love story. So anyway, I am happy that I have been able to witness this, from her coming by herself, and then him joining her, and then them having their babies, and then them taking their first flight, which is exactly what they have just done. And just goodness, what an opportunity. What a joy to get to see such a thing. Kind of from the beginning, from start to this new, they started this journey together, and then had their little babies, and I think when babies are born in the springtime, it's very symbolic to a new journey, a new adventure. And in the coming weeks, you'll see how that is very symbolic for me as well. And it just adds more to the uniqueness and the beauty of this story. So stay tuned, and I'm also we're going to do some fun things with the photos, and be sharing those with you, and of course the videos. So stay tuned. I hope you've enjoyed this little piece from my heart, and it truly is, because it has taken me months. I really I didn't want to talk, I talked about it out and told everybody, but I didn't want to officially do a video until it had been a few months, and I knew I would know when the time was right. And I think this is such a perfect time because now the babies have been born, and it's just such a special springtime blessing to share with you. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Now, go out and chase a few birdies. Ciao.